In this aftermarket case, I got the Epiphone Les Paul Standard 50s in the metallic gold color. Belongs to a good friend of mine. He bought it from a retailer and later found out that it has a huge problem. He fell in love with it and decided not to replace it with another, instead give it back to the retailer for them to fix with a professional guitar tech. I'm gonna show you what the problem was, how it was fixed, making this one of the best Epiphones that I've tried. Here's what happened. My friend tried this standard in a store and fell in love with it. He took it home, played it for a couple of days, and later found out that there's a small crack around the nut that is getting larger with playing and time. These are some photos right before the guitar was sent back for repairs by a professional tech. That's something that we used to see on Gibsons, rarely on Epiphones. At first he thought it's just the finish cracking, but the crack in the finish started growing more and more until he noticed it's in the wood. As I already explained, he loved the guitar so much that he decided not to replace it with another one, which he could have done, but give it back for repairs. What was happening is that the scarf neck joint was not holding and the headstock was separating from the neck. That is considered a headstock break, so the guitar tech had to remove the entire headstock and redo the scarf joint. I'm gonna demonstrate the difference between this scarf joint and one on the standards, the classic, and so on. I gotta say, the guitar tech did a wonderful job, and he also took some care of the frets because there was some overhang, some scratching, and some of the frets were not level. These are some serious issues, but my friend likes this guitar so much, and I gotta say, now after the repair job, it's even better than a brand new one. The only downside is that repairing the headstock, the finish, the frets, the traveling took 4 months, but it's here now and it's perfect. Here's what we got today: electric guitars inspired by Gibson original Les Paul. If you follow my channel, we've been here a lot of times. The 1959 Les Paul Standard, which I'm gonna review really soon, and if you scroll all the way down here, you will find the Les Paul Standard 50s in a couple of different colors. It costs around $650 and it comes in 3 different colors: Vintage Sunburst, Heritage Cherry Sunburst, and the one that I'm gonna demonstrate for you guys today is the metallic gold. At this point I have reviewed a lot of guitars from the Inspired by Gibson collection. This is the first time that I'm hearing one of them having serious issues. But even with those issues, my friend still loved it, and he's gonna demonstrate it for you guys a little bit later in the video. He's an amazing player. He was a part of the ESP vs LTD Iron Cross blind test video, so look forward to that. About the 50 Standard, I can compare it with a couple of guitars, with the USA Standard, with the Custom Shop Standard reissue that I've reviewed, and with the Epiphone Signatures. Comparing it with the Gibsons would be a bit unfair. Maybe I will do a versus video, Gibson versus Epiphone, in the future, but for now, let's compare it to the Epiphone Signatures. It is a standard, meaning that it's heavy and it has a chunky neck. And I mean chunky. The thickness of it at the 12th fret is an inch. It is a 50s standard after all, and the necks in the 50s were chunky. If you're looking for a modern guitar, lighter one with thinner neck, look for the 60s, like the Les Paul Custom, the Modern, the Muse. On the other hand, if the 50s standard is a little bit out of your budget, check out the classic worn gold top. If you're comfortable with heavy guitars with chunky necks, you got a great deal with the 50 Standard. It has the CTS pods, the Inspired by Gibson collection has them, it has the Kalamazoo headstock. It's a wonderful guitar. And don't be frightened by the headstock issue, this is the first and only time I've seen something like this. If you're buying from a retailer or online shop, you can always return it. Hopefully it happens sooner than later. Before I move on with the review of the 50 Standard, I wanna explain something that some of you are probably wondering. The difference between the Les Paul Standard 50s and the 1959 Les Paul Standard on Epiphone's website. It's a bit confusing, especially if you select the vintage sunburst cover for the Les Paul Standard 50s. They look absolutely identical on a photo. They are quite different though, and there's a reason for that big gap in the price. $649 for the 50s versus $899 for the 59 Les Paul Standard. In essence, the 1959 Les Paul Standard is a limited edition of the Les Paul Standard 50s with a couple of important changes. To better understand what these limited runs are, you can check out my 2009 50th anniversary 1959 Les Paul Standard review. I'm gonna link it above for you guys. What's interesting is that this new inspired by Gibson model is the first collaboration between Epiphone and the Gibson Custom Shop. I'm not gonna go in depth about the 59 in this particular video, but later this month I will review it. For now I'm just gonna quickly show you some of the big differences. The 50 Standard has the 50 rounded medium C neck profile, while the 59 has the 50s vintage, so this means the neck profiles are different. Another huge difference is that the Les Paul Standard 50s has the Epiphone ProBucker 1 and 2 pickups, where the 59 has a huge advantage of having the Gibson Burstbucker 2 and 3 pickups. So the Gibson pickups, the CTS pots and the hard shell case make the 1959 Les Paul Standard Limited a bargain for $900. Unfortunately, they are not as available as the Les Paul Standard 50s, which we will go with today and later demonstrate the 59. This is the official listing for the 50s, pause and read it if you like, and these are the specs: neck, hardware, electronics, and the rest of them. Now let's check out the specs in person. First things first, the Indian Laurel fingerboard was thirsty, so I'm gonna put some F1 oil on it. Now that the fingerboard is nice and oiled, let's see what we got here. Multiple piece mahogany body, plain maple top, set neck construction, mahogany neck with a long neck tenon. Indian Laurel fingerboard, 22 medium jumbo frets, 12-inch radius, 24.75-inch scale length, new bone nut, Kalamazoo headstock, Epiphone logo, Epiphone Deluxe tuners. The pickups are Epiphone ProBucker 1 and 2, the bridges Epiphone lock tone with the tailpiece. Here's what's under the neck pickup, and indeed we have a long neck tenon joint for this one. Clearly visible a maple top, the metallic gold has the plain maple top, the other two covers have the AAA maple veneer. Obviously the solid gold finish doesn't need any flames. Everything looks good here. We have the routing for the 3-way switch and the cable for the pickups. The QR sticker in the bridge pickup cavity 210815 made in Qingdao, China. The routing for the cables in the 3-way switch continues to the electronics compartment in the back, and a better look at that plain maple top with N mark on it. It's at least a 2-piece top. The pickups are designed by Epiphone ProBucker 1. This is the neck 4-conductor, and I think my friend is eventually gonna remove the chrome caps on them. He's just gonna unsolder them here from the bottom and make it an open coil look. ProBucker 1 in the bridge position, it has the 4 and 2 conductor options, meaning that you can wire it to split if you like. The pickup rings are cream and slanted, and one of the biggest differences between the Epiphone Les Paul Standard and the Gibson reissue that I reviewed, the Epiphone pickup ring is considerably lower, and we have the metric to pneumatic bridge, where the standard reissue had considerably higher pickup rings and the ABR1 bridge. The Gibson standard reissue feels way different than the Epiphone. Anyway, short screws for the front pickup, long for the back. This is what the cream pickguard looks like. My friend removed it because he likes the cleaner look without pickguards to see that metallic gold finish. And these are the screws for it. One of them has a bigger head so it catches on the bracket, the other one here on the body. For the controls we have an Epiphone 3-way pickup selector, bridge volume, bridge tone, neck tone. The control knobs are the gold top hats with dial pointers. Let's measure the pickups. The ProBucker 2 bridge is at 806 k ohms, switching over to the ProBucker 1 in the neck position, 752. Middle position, both pickups, 389, pretty soft. The good old Epiphone lock tone bridge, individual saddles held by a spring, the Epiphone logo, locks to the struts, metric thumb wheel, flathead screwdriver adjustable, and the lock tone tailpiece to go along with it. The top is bound by a single ply cream binding, which is a little bit inconsistent in some places, especially if we check out down here near the cutaway. I'm not talking about this big area that you can see the plain maple top. This is typical for Les Pauls. I'm talking about the connection here between the body and the neck binding. It's not the worst, it could have been done better though. A multiple piece mahogany neck with a set neck construction and long neck tenon. Single ply cream binding for the fingerboard and black side dots. I'm not gonna take the frets as a factory example because these had been repaired and redone by the guitar tech that made the repairs on this guitar. Unfortunately, this particular Epiphone came with unlevel frets from the factory. Some of them were unlevel, but now they're fixed. I think these had been crowned as well. There's no scratching, there's no overhand, they're flawless. Let's closely inspect the Indian Laurel fingerboard. It has cool streaks along the entire length of it and some cool patterns here and there, which some may consider as a flaw, but I don't feel it scratching like this with the nail, so it's okay. The next thing that I always inspect are the trapezoid pearloid inlays. I check them for consistency, the patterns are okay, there's no plain ones, they react well to the light, they're cool. The new bone nut is okay, I'm not the biggest fan, but it's done well. The Kalamazoo headstock with the black veneer, polyurethane finish for it, same as the body. On the headstock there's the Les Paul model gold silkscreen, and I think the Epiphone logo is pearloid. This is not mother of pearl like on the Gibsons. Epiphone Vintage Deluxe 18:1 ratio tuners. Cavity for the truss rod, the same hole I've seen on most Epiphones. 4mm Allen nut, and the cover is the traditional Epiphone bell with 3 screws. Standard written on it, 2 ply. The nut is 43mm or 1.69 inch wide. The 12th fret is at 53.4 or 2.10 inches. Thickness at the first fret 22.2, 0.87 inch. Thickness at the 12th fret 25.4, exactly 1 inch. Thick boy. We got a big boy, 50.4mm, almost 2 inches, no weight relief, a chunky guitar. 12-inch radius, as it should be on a Les Paul, 24.75 inch scale length throughout. It's not the most rounded off medium C that I've seen, but let's call it that, 50s rounded medium C neck profile. Full thickness mahogany body, no binding for the back, polyurethane finish, and I'm assuming this is a mahogany veneer for the back. Looks too perfect. It is supposed to look like a one-piece mahogany, but underneath it's probably 3 or more pieces. It's hard to see, but I'm assuming it's not very thick. You can see it around the electronics compartment. Here's that cheap 3-way switch by Epiphone. I think that's one of the first things that will go on these guitars. Here's the electronics compartment, 50s style of wiring, the inspired by Gibson Electronics CTS 500K pots. Let me give you guys a better look at that maple top, the CTS pots, and these are the Mallory 150 series capacitors. Here we have the quick connect system for the pickups, and down there's the ground wire that goes to the bridge. A bit messy in here like on most Epiphones. Here's the routing for the output jack and the cables for the pickups there. A plastic rectangular plate for the output jack. These are replacement strap locks, these are the Locks brand. And the covers for the electronic compartment and the 3-way switch are satin in the front, gloss on the back. That's what they look like. Here's where things get interesting, the back of that massive mahogany neck. We have a multiple piece neck, of course, one big chunk here. The heel is a separate piece that gets glued to the neck. It has the same polyurethane finish as the body and the headstock. The scarf joint, I'm gonna get back to that in a second, let me just show you the rest of it. We have the Vintage Deluxe Epiphone tuners, and the serial number 210815 matches the one that I showed you under the bridge pickup. I see these tiny pieces here, these are the wings on the headstock that had been glued separately to it. On this wall I have the classic gold top, the 50 standard and the slash vermilion. Check out the scarf neck joints. Here between those two stickers, you see how rounded off it is? Now see it on the vermilion, a bit harder to see but still rounded off. Just between these two stickers, it's supposed to be rounded off like this. Now check it out on the repaired 50 standard. Clearly this scarf neck joint has been redone. In order to repair a cracked headstock, you have to remove it and redo the neck joint and apply the glue and then the entire finish. And I gotta say, it's a pretty good job. You cannot tell that this had a repair job. So that's one way to tell if your guitar had a headstock break. look for that clean scarf neck joint. The 50s metallic gold standard weighs 4,174 grams or 9.20 pounds. Let's compare it to the Slash Victoria Gold top, which is considerably lighter at 832 pounds. Now let's hear it. Here's the owner, my friend. Check out his band Bloodrush on Instagram and YouTube. My opinion about the 50s Les Paul Standard Metallic Gold. I love it, and those are big words for someone who hates chunky necks, doesn't like the Standard overall. and don't like soft pickups. I play metal, these are soft pickups. But for the funky stuff like Killing in the Name of in the intro of my video, for slash riffs, things like that, they're amazing, the pickups. Build quality, well, I have reviewed a lot of these inspired by Gibson Epiphones so far. They all have some issue, not as big as this one, the headstock break, but it has been repaired and it's now even better than new. So for $650, I think it's a bargain. Will I buy one? Well, I showed you the 59 Standard, the one with the hard shell case and everything. I think if I find one of these, I would prefer it over the 50s, but they're limited edition, so you got the choice of buying this. Will I buy this, for example, over a Slash signature, the IFD or the November Burst? Yeah, probably, and put the Slash Seymour Duncan pickups in it. To sum it all up, after a proper setup, sounds nice, plays nice, feels great, great value for money. If you're in the market for 50 Standard, get one.